3. Sinister night drive horror stories exposed. Spine-chilling encounters that haunt and terrify. Emma gripped the steering wheel with trembling hands. The cold metal bit into her palms as shadows danced around her suburban neighborhood, stretching ominously beneath the flickering streetlights. Darkness draped over the roads like a heavy blanket, whispering secrets she'd rather not hear. Tonight was supposed to be just another late-night drive to retrieve her daughter from a school event, but a thick tension wrapped around her chest, squeezing tighter with every turn. As she passed familiar houses, their windows glimmering with the calm of well-loved homes, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, wrong. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of headlights looming too close for comfort. Her heart raced. In the rearview mirror, a figure in shadow sat behind the wheel, eyes affixed on her like a predator tracking its prey. She turned up the radio, desperately seeking distraction. Static crackled, then a haunting voice broke through the noise, recounting tales of recent abductions in their usually safe suburb. Her heart sank into her stomach. This wasn't folklore anymore, it was real. Fear twisted her insides as her phone buzzed with a flurry of messages from her daughter. A schoolmate had vanished, and Emma's gut clenched. She thought of the gaunt man in town, someone everyone trusted. The whispers and rumors about him flooded her mind, turning each mundane street into a nerve-wracking gauntlet. The thickening shadows pressed against the windows, and Emma felt the air in her lungs turn hot and heavy. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rerouting was a split-second decision, her instincts kicking in. The path she chose meandered toward the back roads she'd always avoided. The street lamps flickered erratically, shadows flicking like scorching flames. Figures appeared and disappeared at the edges of her headlights, homeless shapes soaking up the moonlight, twisted silhouettes that sparked a deep, sinking dread. It felt like every shadow was watching her, like there was nothing noble waiting ahead. She was to avoid the sinister man's territory, but now those roads stretched ahead, endless and dark. The hum of the engine faded into the unsettling silence, broken only by her ragged breaths. With every turn, Emma felt emotions rising, panic, frustration, and the slivers of doubt creeping in. Was she losing her mind? Pulling up to the school, her heart plummeted as she navigated the lot. The place bore the weight of hidden connections to the ominous disappearances. From the corners of her eye, the lurking figures from before seemed to inch closer, as if shadowing her every move. She discovered unsettling truth connections among friends that thrummed with danger and whispers that wouldn't dissipate. A flicker of hope, dashed by the icy grip of suspicion. Could she trust the very safety of her hometown? What if it wore a mask of kindness that concealed predatory eyes? What would she do if the shadows she thought were harmless were, in fact, waiting to strike? Emma took a deep breath and stepped out into the darkness, heavy with the realization. The threat wasn't just out there, watching. It was hidden beneath every friendly face she once knew. Emma stepped onto the cracked pavement, the chill seeping into her bones. The school loomed behind her, a ghostly shell of fluorescent lights flickering sporadically. Each step forward felt like a step deeper into a dark abyss. She combed through the silence, listening intently for her daughter's laughter among clusters of friends, but only silence greeted her. Her phone buzzed again, a new message from Lily. "I'll be waiting outside, Mom." Relief washed over her. If nothing else, she knew her daughter was safe for now, but a creeping anxiety gnawed at her. She glanced around the parking lot, nervously eyeing the shadows lurking beyond the light's reach. The comforting hum of the school's sounds faded away. Now, it was just her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Moving toward the exit, she spotted 3 figures standing around the old oak tree near the edge of the parking lot. Their outlines were vague, drifting in and out of focus under the dim light. Her instincts screamed at her to back away, yet she forced herself to keep going. Were they friends or foes? She couldn't tell from afar, but something held her, an unspoken connection to danger. Suddenly, The hairs on her neck stood on end, a sharp prick of awareness as one of the figures turned. For a breathless moment, they met her gaze. His eyes were meant for the shadow's hollow, soulless orbs that sent a chill down her spine. The lingering feeling that had haunted her all night spiked. Fear coiled in her chest. She was not alone. "Mom." A voice pierced through her thoughts. "Lily." Emma turned, her heart soaring, but then plummeting as she noticed her daughter standing alone. "Lily, you're okay." Emma rushed forward, bending down to embrace her, but her arms hugged nothing but air. Her daughter stood pale, stricken, and scared. "What's wrong?" Lily's voice quavered, and her gaze darted to the figures as if sensing their silent threat. "Some kids, they said they saw someone in the school. They think he might have taken someone." Emma paled, her mind racing. The stories she had heard, the mounting disappearances, it felt like a looming nightmare, turning real. A crash echoed down the street, startling them both, and instinctively Emma turned, scanning the area for movement. "What if we should leave?" Lily whispered, taking her mother's hand and gripping it tight. They decided to retreat back to the car, but the path laid heavy with evening tension, as if the shadows would spring to life any moment. Emma glanced back at the figures. They remained still, an unnerving silence stretching between them like a taut wire. "We should run," Lily urged, terror lining her voice. With a nod, they took off, hearts pounding, breaths hasty. As they reached the vehicle, Emma fumbled for her keys, her fingers trembling. The chill in the air seemed to solidify around them. And then, she heard it, a guttural laugh, echoing against the night, blistering any remaining hope. It came from the oak tree. Instantly, she knew. That laughter was meant for them, an invitation into unfathomable darkness. Emma slammed the door shut, locking it. Was it enough? Was the danger truly contained? The engine roared to life, but hesitation clawed at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was trailing behind them. Was it the figure? An unseen presence that hungered to join them in the car? As they sped away, Emma noticed colors swirling in the reflection of the rearview mirror. Rage, desperation, darkness. Shadows were everywhere, clawing at the edges of her vision. "Mom, look!" Lily screamed, raising her finger to the window. There it was again, the gaunt man, standing alone next to the road. His eyes lit up like two burning coals in the night, and just beyond him, figures creeping from the woods. The hunt had begun. Emma slammed the accelerator down, but as they sped into the night, she couldn't shake the dreadful thought. Who was in control? The shadows or her? With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she broke the silence with a single, frantic question. What do we do now? But the growing darkness only echoed back. Emma's heart raced as the headlights cut through the night, illuminating the twisted trees lining the narrow road. The shadows flickered like trapped spirits, as if they were reaching for the vehicle with skeletal hands. She gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, while Lily pressed her face against the window, eyes wide with terror. "What do we do now?" came Lily's feeble echo, the question hanging heavily in the air. Emma could hardly speak as a fresh wave of dread washed over her, lapping at the edges of her mind like a tide threatening to pull her under. She could hear the echoes of their pursuers whispering through the forest, that guttural laugh still resonating in her ears, taunting her. The past stories, the ones meant to scare kids, swirled around her, blending horror with the reality she now faced. "Just hold on tight," Emma finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. She pressed her foot down harder on the gas pedal, feeling the engine roar in protest. Trees blurred into streaks of charcoal and darkness as they sped past, but no matter how fast they drove, she felt an inexorable pull, something tugging at the edges of her consciousness. She cast a quick glance in the rearview mirror and gasped. Behind them, the gaunt figure stood in the middle of the road, motionless but insistent, watching them vanish into the night. Would he follow? Were those figures in the woods shifting into something more, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? "Mom, what was that?" Lily's voice broke through the thick tension as she turned to stare back at the fading shadows. "I don't know," Emma managed, struggling to keep her focus on the road. "But we're safe for now." As they tore down the road, the headlights caught a closer glimpse of something up ahead. A flickering light, perhaps a house, a sign of civilization? Emma's determination wavered, her hope flickering with it. Should they take the risk? "Mom, what if it's not safe?" Lily's eyes were wide, shimmering with the reflection of fear. Better than being out here, Emma replied, her voice steadier than she felt. We have to find help. With a final surge of adrenaline, she swerved onto the gravel driveway leading to the eerie silhouette of a crumbling house. The windows were shattered, and the porch sagged dangerously, but it was their best chance at safety. Emma cut the engine, and they sat in uneasy silence, lingering in the thick tension that now enveloped them. Stay close, Lily, she instructed, her voice strong but laced with an edge of desperation. She reached for the door, hesitating as a whisper of wind seemed to mock her resolve. They stepped out, the chill biting into their skin, and immediately the shadows darted around the perimeter of the house. It felt as if the darkness itself was alive, shifting restlessly. Emma clutched her daughter's hand, the chill of it nearly freezing. Do you hear that? Lily whispered, her voice barely more than a quiver. In the distance, something stirred. It was a low thrumming sound, a hum resonating just outside their grasp of normalcy, urging them to turn back, to flee. The shadows breathed, and the air thickened with an unsettling presence that made Emma shiver. Let us go inside, Emma commanded, trembling slightly but forcing her resolve into the forefront. As they stepped over the threshold, the door creaked ominously behind them, sealing them in darkness. The air smelled musty, like long-forgotten secrets. Shadows danced in the corners with malevolent glee, whispering of horrors that lay within these walls. Mom, I don't like it here. Lily pulled closer, nearly melding into her mother's side. I know, but we have to find a way to defend ourselves. Emma felt the whisper of uncertainty clawing at her insides. We'll find something. They moved deeper into the blackness, terrible sounds clicking and scratching just beyond their earshot. The walls seemed to breathe, tightening around them as they picked their way through broken furniture and debris. Every creak resonated like a warning, a reminder of their vulnerability. And then, in the farthest corner of the room, something shimmered, a reflection, but not of the two of them. Mom, what is that? Lily's voice turned to ice as they both turned to view the eerie glow. It shimmered, then vanished. Lily, we need to go right now? Emma didn't look back. She met Lily's terrified gaze, and the two of them darted back toward the door, precautions forgotten. But as they neared the entrance, it swung shut with a thunderous bang, sealing them inside. The thrumming sound crescendoed, wrapping around them like a noose. Emma's heart plummeted. Maybe they were not alone after all. An inhuman laugh echoed once more. What do we do now? Lily's voice trembled as she backed away, eyes darting. Emma's mind raced. Invisible forces loomed, and shadows whispered promises of dread. Lily, we must face it. Emma steeled herself, the realization striking. They were far from safe. The hunt was not over. The question lingered, heavy with fear. Would they be prepared for the next phase of their nightmare? Emma's breath caught in her throat as the shadows deepened around them, consuming the last flicker of light that had dared venture inside. An ominous aura hung thick in the air, pressing against her chest like a weight she couldn't shake. I don't want to be here, Mom. Lily's voice cracked, shattering the suffocating silence. With her heart racing, Emma searched for an escape route, but the house felt like a labyrinth, twisting and closing in on her. The low hum undulated, resonating in her bones, a sinister lullaby luring them deeper into its embrace. She tugged on Lily's hand, wishing desperately to feel a sense of control. Stay right behind me, she whispered, each word trembling. That as they stepped further away from the door, the shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, mocking their fear as if they were playthings in some twisted game. Emma's eyes widened as they turned a corner, revealing a stairway leading downward into unknown depths. The stairwell appeared interminable, a yawning mouth ready to swallow them whole. The thrumming intensified, pulsating with an unsettling rhythm. It felt like a heartbeat, alive, aware, and dangerously close. Mom, we can't go down there, Lily pleaded, her eyes darting. I know, Emma whispered, the instinct to protect her child surging stronger than the dread gnawing at her. Yet something in the back of her mind pressed her forward, as if urging her to confront whatever awaited below. With a deep breath, Emma grabbed the railing and took a hesitant step onto the first stair. The wood creaked beneath her weight, groaning like a wounded creature. Mom, please. Lily's grip tightened around her wrist, trembling like a tiny leaf in a storm. Just a little further, Emma soothed, though she felt anything but calm. Let us see what we can find. Each step sent shivers racing along her spine. The air grew colder, heavy with an oppressive energy that thickened around them. The hum morphed into whispers, soft and sinister, weaving through the darkness as if they were the very voices of the house, beckoning the two intruders to come closer. Halfway down, Emma paused. Her eyes adjusted to the faint glimmer of damp stone walls, slick with something dark that she dared not question. An ancient door stood at the bottom of the stairwell, almost inviting, yet no less treacherous. "It's just a door," she said, half to reassure herself, half for Lily. But her voice wavered, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily upon her psyche. Lily tugged on her mother-esque shirt, eyes wide. What if something bad is behind it? What is worse than what is already in here? Emma countered, her own fears rising to the surface. They had to know. With a shaky hand, she reached for the cool, rusted handle. It shifted beneath her touch, an omen of what lay ahead. Her heart thudded violently against her ribcage as anticipation twisted through her. "Mom," Lily whispered, her small voice barely breaking through the silence. Emma gritted her teeth, forcing her rising panic down. "On three." Lily nodded, albeit reluctantly. Emma took a breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and counted, 1, 2, 3. With a strong yank, the door screeched open, revealing a dim room littered with what seemed to be remnants from lives once lived. Faded photographs hung on the walls, faces blurred by time, their eyes staring now into nothing. Scattered papers lay dustily across the floor, scribblings of fear and loss, tongue-tied screams trapped in ink. Then, beyond them, a figure shifted, half-formed in the shadows, a puppet of darkness, grinning with malevolence. "Welcome," a low voice rasped, echoing in their minds. Lily shrieked, but Emma was frozen. There was no escape now. The sinister presence seemed to coil tighter around them, the walls pulsating with life. "What do we do now?" Emma managed to stutter, feeling dread seep into her skin. The figure elongated, fingers reaching out, the air thickening like fog as dread dripped from the corners of their vision. And then, with a final flicker of light, the door slammed shut behind them. In the crushing darkness, Emma seized Lily's hand. Exhaling sharply, she prepared to confront the terror, knowing only survival stood before them. But what waited on the other side of those shadows? Would they come face to face with their worst fears? The shadows surged, enveloping them in a cold embrace. Emma's heart raced like the ticking clock, each second echoing like a drum in the suffocating silence. Lily's hand felt tiny, fragile in hers, a reminder of the innocence she was desperate to protect. The room was full of secrets, whispers wrapping around them like tendrils of smoke. As the figure lurked in the dark, Emma's mind raced. What was it? Some remnant of the house? Or something much worse? The air grew thick, a sensation as if the very walls were pressing down on them, squeezing the breath from their lungs. "Mom, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, her voice piercing through the haze of fright. Emma squeezed her hand tighter, wishing she could erase the fear in her daughter's eyes. "Me too, sweetheart. But we can't stop now," Emma whispered, her voice barely breaking the barrier of fear. The figure shifted again, stepping closer, the shadows swirling around it like a cloak of malevolence. Emma's breath quickened as she felt the temperature drop. Tiny beads of sweat collected at her temples. "Why have you come?" The figure hissed, its voice grating, echoing off the stone walls. Each word was heavy with the weight of ages, vibrating in their bones. We need to leave," Emma stammered, the words barely escaping her lips. She forced herself to take a step back, but the door was behind them, solid and unforgiving. It seemed to mock them. "Leave," it mocked. "You think you have a choice?" An unfurling dread clawed at Emma's insides, her thoughts spiraling. What did it mean? She needed to think. "Who are you?" she shouted, her voice rising above the oppressive hum. There was a flicker of uncertainty, a moment where the figure hesitated. "I am the keeper of the lost. The ones who wandered too deep," it sneered, and in its gaze, Emma felt history staring back at her, layers of forgotten pain and regret. "And now you are mine." Lily trembled beside her, the grip of her small hand slipping slightly. Emma quickened her hold, squeezing even harder. A memory flickered through her mind, a time when they had been in a dark place before, one that felt just as ensnaring. She couldn't let this happen. Leave us alone, Emma shouted again, forcing herself to appear braver than she felt. With sudden clarity, she remembered the legends, the stories about places like this, about confronting fears to reclaim what was lost. You can't have us, Emma cried, desperation pushing her forward. The figure seemed to shudder, a flicker of surprise crossing its twisted features. What do you think you are? It hissed, contempt dripping from its voice. You trespassed. What if we're not afraid? Emma challenged, shaking. The courage felt thin, but she had to believe it. The figure lunged. The shadows shifted at its command, reaching for them as if alive. The whispers crescendoed, a cacophony of twisted voices, rising to a roar. But Emma turned, pulling Lily with her, and raced toward where the door had been. As they reached their destination, the once solid barrier began to tremble and flicker, as if responding to their urgency. In their desperate escape, Emma's breath came in ragged gasps. This way, Lily, she urged, pain shooting through her heart as she risked a glance back. The figure was still there, its form dark and looming, eyes bright with hunger. And then the barrier they needed to cross began to fade. Desperation took hold. With a final push, Emma hurled herself and Lily against the half-formed exit before it completely vanished. They barreled through with a jarring thud, tumbling onto cold, damp ground. The thrill of freedom washed over them. Yet, the darkness still loomed, shrinking in around them. But there was no time to celebrate. Behind them echoed a low, chilling chuckle, and with it a menacing promise. This isn't over. As they stood, breathless and wide-eyed, Emma turned to her daughter. We have to find a way out of here, right now. But which direction to flee? The twisted halls of the house beckoned again, begging them to come deeper. Emma faced the unknown with a knot of dread in her stomach, knowing they weren't truly free yet. What lay ahead was shrouded in darkness, but they had no choice. With a shuddering breath, she pulled Lily closer and stepped forward into the unknown. Would the terror from before still linger, waiting to consume them again? They pressed forward, the darkness swallowing them whole. Each step echoed in the silent corridor, the damp air heavy with the smell of decay. Emma's pulse throbbed in her ears, a relentless reminder of their fragile existence. She could feel Lily's warmth beside her, a comforting presence in the suffocating void. Mom, Lily murmured, her voice trembling like a whispering breeze. Where are we? I don't know, honey. Emma's throat tightened. She squinted into the shadows, searching for any sign of hope. But we have to keep moving. Just stick close to me. The floorboards creaked under their weight, each sound amplified, mocking their every moment. A chill swept through the corridor, snaking its way up Emma's spine. She felt an unseen force pressing in from all sides, and for a fleeting instant, she feared the very air would crush them. But it was the whispers that truly unnerved her. They started as muted echoes, barely discernible. But as they crept deeper into the house, the whispers grew, swirling around them like a haunting chorus. Names, lives, moments of despair. Each syllable struck Emma like a wet slap against her face. Emma gritted her teeth, forcing her legs to move, pushing against the rising dread. Keep your eyes on me, Lily. Just look at me. Lily tightened her grip, her tiny fingers digging into Emma's arm. What do they want, Mom? I don't know, Emma replied, the lie hanging in the air like a black cloud. But they can't have us. Suddenly, an ear-splitting shriek echoed through the halls. Emma froze, heart stuttering in her chest. The sound reverberated off the walls, cries of agony and despair. Make it stop, Lily shouted, her voice rising in panic. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, her heart racing. Focus, Lily. We can't let it get to us. But even the shadows seemed to pulse with life, growing thicker, swirling faster, mocking their bravery. In some twisted part of her mind, she could feel the darkness delaying their escape, savoring their fear. Turn back. A voice called, a husky rasp, low and threatening. It vibrated through the very ground beneath them, sending shudders up Emma's spine. No, Emma gasped, fear surging in her throat like bile. She tugged Lily forward, staggering under the weight of unseen eyes that bore down upon them. Ahead, a flickering light broke through the oppressive gloom. A door ajar. It beckoned like a lighthouse in a storm. Mom, look. Lily pointed, eyes wide with hope. Come on, Emma urged, darting toward it. Every ounce of fear spurred her legs forward. They neared the door, the light dancing like a flame, warm and inviting. But as they approached, the whispers escalated, swirling into a howl that sent cold tendrils gripping around Emma's heart. Foolish souls, the shadows hissed, a chilling symphony rising in the air. You cannot escape what you cannot see. The door swung open, revealing a blinding white that felt almost otherworldly. Emma glanced back. The shadows surged, reaching with clawed hands, wailing like souls trapped in torment. This way. She yanked Lily through the opening. They stumbled into a small room, disoriented. The light dimmed to a dull glow, revealing old walls covered with peeling paper. An overwhelming sense of dread filled the air, and Emma felt the unmistakable cold of realization. Where are we? Lily's voice trembled. Maybe it's a safe room, Emma said, but doubt crept in. A reverberating thud echoed outside. The door shivered as something slammed against it. Mom. Emma's breathing quickened, a primal fear coiling deep within. She pressed her back against the wall, and for the first time, she thought of the stories, the tales of those who got trapped here, never seen again. Keep quiet, she whispered urgently. The walls seemed to close in, the dismal space vibrating with an unseen force. Outside, the sounds of scratching, clawing grew louder. The house was alive, and it was hungry. With a heart full of despair and determination, Emma turned to Lily. We need a plan. We can't stay here. Just then, a scraping sound lashed through the silence, followed by a sinister chuckle that chilled Emma to her very core. You can run, but you will never escape, it taunted, a grotesque promise hanging in the air. And then, for the first time, Emma felt the shadows pressing against her from all sides, curling like a playlist of nightmares, leaving a dread-filled question hanging heavy in the air. How many had come before them, and where had they all ended up? The sound of claws scraping at the door sent a jolt of terror through Emma. She pressed her back harder against the wall, desperately searching for a way out. The whispers outside swelled into a cacophony, a whirlwind of sorrow and rage. Mom, I want to go home. Lily's voice wavered, small and fragile against the noise. I know, honey, I know, Emma replied, her heart pounding in her ears. But home felt impossibly far away now. The door was their only barrier against whatever lurked just beyond it, but how long could it hold? As if in answer, a deep thud rattled the door again. Emma's mind raced. There has to be another way out, she thought. She scanned the dim room, looking for anything, furniture, a window, something to give them hope. Frantically, she tried the doorknob. It turned, but the door didn't budge. It felt like it was being pushed from the other side. The whispers transformed into a chant, low and hypnotic, a dreadful lullaby that tangled with Emma's thoughts. What do they want from us? She whispered, half to herself and half to Lily. They want to take us. Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. Like the stories, right? Emma clenched her fists, anger igniting her fear. We want to be like them. Suddenly, something heavy crashed into the door. Emma stumbled back, clutching Lily tightly to her. Shadows merged into one monstrous form, slamming against the wood. The door rattled, groaning under the pressure. Emma glimpsed a sliver of darkness between the frame and the door, as if something was pushing to get inside. Mom, it's gonna break in. Lily screamed, panic spilling over. No, we need to keep it together. Emma shouted back, grabbing Lily's shoulders. She spun, her eyes darting to another wall. The peeling paper revealed a series of dark stains, shapes that looked disturbingly like hands reaching out. Their touch lingered in her mind, chilling her to the core. Look, Lily pointed to a small crack in the wall, barely wide enough for a hand. But the light shimmered from the other side, beckoning in a tantalizing manner. Mom, can we squeeze through there? Emma stared at the crack, weighing the risk. They could try to escape, but would it lead them to safety or into the malevolent grasp of the house? The shadows pressed in again, an agonizing reminder of the danger that loomed close. Do you think it can fit? She asked. I can, just like in the movies. Lily urged, her voice trembling but filled with the flickering hope of a child. Emma drew a breath and nodded. Okay, you go first. If it gets tight, just call for me, she instructed, knowing her heart could only beat so fiercely with dread. With a determined nod, Lily crouched down, inching toward the crack as Emma held her breath. But just before Lily could slip through, another smash against the door sent ripples of terror through Emma's gut. The door buckled and splintered, letting in tendrils of darkness that snaked into the room, reaching for them like grasping fingers. "Go, Lily. Now," Emma urged, her voice cracking. In one swift motion, Lily squeezed through just as the door burst open. A horrid darkness swept into the room, screeching with furious abandon. Emma dashed towards the crack, knowing it was their only chance. "Mom." Lily's voice echoed from the shadows behind her as Emma dove through, chased by the wailing chaos of the room they'd just left. She landed hard on the other side and spun around, breathless and terrified. Then Emma froze. The horrifying truth settled upon her like ice. They weren't alone. "Where are we?" she gasped, eyeing the dim light. Figures emerged, haunting reflections of despair that stood frozen, staring back at her. Their faces were devoid of hope, caught in eternal fright. This was not freedom. It was another prison. And as the whispers flooded back, Emma realized the house was vast and unyielding, stretching far beyond their understanding. They had entered a new nightmare, and now it was time to pay the price. But then a chilling voice broke through the silence, echoing in the darkness. "Welcome back, dear souls. We've been waiting for you, despair-washed." Over her, merging with the shadows, Emma clutched Lily's hand tighter. A single question burned in her mind. How could they possibly escape this cycle of torment? Emma's breath came shallow and quick. The figures loomed closer, their faces twisted in a grotesque mimicry of human emotion. The shadows of despair wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing the air from her lungs. She turned to Lily, whose grip on her hand was fragile but firm. "Stay close," Emma whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. She scanned the area, searching for an escape route. The walls of this new realm were alive, pulsating with an eerie energy that seemed to throb with every whispered name slipping through the darkness. "Mom, I don't like this place," Lily murmured, her eyes wide with terror. "I know, sweetie. We'll find a way out," Emma reassured her, though her heart raced with uncertainty. Each twisted face around them seemed to draw nearer, their mouths twisting into half-formed screams of agony. The whispers were rising again, urging, chanting, tormenting. They demanded something she could not comprehend. Before she could ponder further, the ground trembled beneath them. A shuddering sound echoed, resonating from deep within the darkness behind the figures. Emma instinctively pulled Lily closer as she took a hesitant step backward, searching for a path away from the grotesque silhouettes that barred their way. "Mom, look." Lily pointed to an archway embedded in the wall, a faint glimmer of light spilling from its edges. It was their chance, but the figures seemed to notice, their vacant eyes narrowing, the whispers sharpening into a menacing hum. "Run, now," Emma yelled, and without waiting for another second, they dashed toward the archway, their frantic footsteps drowned by the whispers and the clawing shadows that still reached for them as they hurtled toward the light. The shadows thrummed violently, twisting into shapes that lashed out, desperate to pull them back. Emma could feel the chilling breath of the darkness on her neck, sending icy dread coursing through her veins. But they were so close. Just a few more steps. Heart pounding, she urged Lily forward, her small body propelling toward the glimmering escape. They burst through the archway together and tumbled into a new room, this one darker than the last. Tendrils of mist slithered around their feet, cold and suffocating. They landed in a twisted labyrinth of ancient stone, illuminated intermittently by flickering candles that burned with ghostly blue flames. The air thickened, pressing down on them, heavy with the weight of despair and lost souls. Emma scrambled to her feet, looking around frantically. "Lily, are you okay?" "I think so," the girl trembled, her small face streaked with tears. Then, from the darkness, a sinister laughter echoed, a low, rumbling sound that seemed to rise from the very stones themselves. "Welcome to my domain," a voice crooned, seductive yet cruel. "You've entered a space where your worst fears shall unfold." Emma's heart dropped, each word wrapped around her, binding her to this wretched place. "We have to keep moving, Lily." She steadied her breath, forcing herself to lead, but every instinct screamed to turn back. Another figure emerged dressed in tattered rags, its face obscured, Yet Emma could feel its eyes drilling into her. "You can't escape," it hissed. "You belong here now." An icy grip of panic rose in Emma's throat. "We want to stay," she declared, pulling Lily along, each step feeling like a battle against the sinister energy pulling them down. With every movement, the laughter grew louder, echoing off the stones, mocking their desperation. They took a sharp turn, driven by primal fear. A door loomed ahead, painted black and splintered at the edges, bathed in an unsettling glow that promised more horror. They had to reach it. But just as they approached, the laughter morphed into wails, a chorus of sorrow that threatened to consume them. Emma glanced back, dread washing over her as she saw the figures converge, their gnarled hands reaching out, tangled in desperation and despair. "Mom!" Lily screamed, eyes wide with fear. "Keep running!" Emma shouted, her voice breaking. The door was right there, but it felt like an eternity away. And then it happened. The ground beneath them cracked open, dark tendrils erupting from the depths, threatening to swallow them whole. "Faster!" Emma cried as she sprinted towards the door, grasping the worn handle. It was their last hope. But as she turned to face the encroaching horror, dread coursed through her veins. The shadows swirled, twisting and forming into a single monstrous entity, its presence darker than the night itself. Suddenly, it spoke, filling the air with a chilling certainty. "You cannot outrun what you carry inside. It will always find you." An icy dread wrapped around Emma's heart, and in that moment, she knew their fate hung by a thread. Could they break free, or would they fall victim to the darkness that sought to claim them forever? With her heart racing, Emma grasped the handle tighter as she shouted, "Now, Lily!" But as they pushed through, a chilling realization dawned. What if escape only led them deeper into their own horrors? The door swung open, and Emma was met with blinding white light. But Lily hesitated, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. What if it's a trap? Could they risk the unknown, or would they stand and face the deepest, darkest fears that whispered relentlessly in their minds? The blinding light enveloped them, consuming all fear in a radiant flash before it receded into flickering shadows that danced around their feet. Emma squeezed Lily's hand tightly, her nerves screaming at her to turn back, but there was no time for hesitation. "Just trust me," Emma urged, her voice trembling but resolute as she stepped forward cautiously, dragging Lily along. Around them, the walls of this new space glimmered, but something felt off. The air was thick, buzzing with an energy that made every hair on her body stand on end. They emerged into a spacious room, a grotesque gallery lined with mirrors that twisted reality. Each reflection showed a version of them steeped in horror, twisted faces, hollow eyes, mouths gaping in silent screams. Every glance sent shivers crawling down her spine. "Mom," Lily whispered, her voice a mere breath. "Don't look at them," Emma snapped, urging her daughter to find something else to focus on. But as she turned, she saw figures creeping into view, their silhouettes framed in the periphery of the mirrors. They moved with an eerie grace, faces obscured but exuding a palpable malice. "Let me show you what you truly fear." Their voices slipped from the darkness, haunting yet strangely familiar, sending a chill through Emma's bones. She felt the urge to yell, to scream, but the weight of dread held her down. What could these figures reveal? Would they unearth long-buried fears she had tried so hard to forget? "Mom, I keep moving," Emma hissed, pulling Lily forward. The reflections throbbed as if alive, whispering secrets just beyond comprehension. She could almost see the shadows of their own fears swirling beneath the surface. They raced past the mirrors, desperate to put distance between them and the looming horrors. Emma's heart raced as they reached a shattered doorway at the end of the hall. Beyond it lay another corridor, this one steeped in a suffocating darkness so thick she felt it wrapping around her limbs, trying to pull her back. But there was no turning back now. They had to push through. Lily whimpered beside her, the weight of their surroundings heavy on her little shoulders. "Mom, I'm scared." "Stay close," Emma barked, fear surging through her as she scanned the darkness for any sign of movement. A clattering noise reverberated from the end of the hall, making her stop dead in her tracks. The sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed like a death knell. "Embrace your fear, Emma." It was that same voice, curling around her like smoke. She felt it pulse in her chest, an insidious whisper coaxing the very essence of doubt hidden in her heart. You can't escape it. With every beat of her heart, Emma felt panic clawing at her throat. She thought of the things she had buried deep within: regrets, failures, the specters of guilt. Lily, sensing her mother's anxiety, grasped her arm tighter, tears spilling down her cheeks. What if we're trapped here forever? Fear is an illusion, Emma said quickly, though she could hear the tremor in her own voice. We're not staying. We will find a way out. But as they moved deeper into the shadows, Emma felt the darkness clinging to her. It fed on her uncertainty, her desperation twisting into something monstrous. She turned, forcing herself to take one last look at the mirrors, each reflection screaming with anguish, reaching for her. Mom. Lily's voice shattered her reverie. The child's wide eyes pointed down the corridor where the darkness thickened, and from that murky depth, an elongated silhouette began to slide into view. It was tall, impossibly tall, with limbs that stretched unnaturally. The shadows shifted around it, and Emma's breath caught in her throat. Can you see it? It's here. The looming presence fluctuated in and out of focus. It leaned in closer, as if inspecting them, its gaze penetrating. Cold dread sank into Emma's stomach. They needed to move, but her legs felt like lead. Run, she shouted abruptly, and together they bolted down the corridor, heart pounding as they echoed against the stone walls. Dread chased them, gnashing at their heels like a wild beast desperate for prey. As they reached the end of the corridor, another door came into view. It loomed ominously, crowned in darkness, the air around it vibrating with a low hum. Please, please, Emma chanted under her breath, hoping against hope this door would lead to safety. What if it's another trap? That seed of doubt sprouted once more, blooming into the back of her mind. We have to try? But even as Emma reached for the handle, a cold slither wrapped around her wrist, an inescapable grip. No, she shouted as twisted whispers filled her ears, each one echoing fears long buried, stepping into the very fabric of her being. This was not just a labyrinth of shadows, but a reflection of some dark truth she had never wanted to confront. With a surge of adrenaline, she twisted the handle, flinging open the door as light spilled from within, threatening to engulf them. But when she stepped through with Lily, her heart raced. What if stepping inside only welcomed the true darkness they had been trying to escape all along? And in that moment, Emma understood every fear they faced, every shadow they ran from, had only ever been a part of them. What if, in the fight for survival, they had both been drawn into something even more malevolent? As the door slammed shut behind them, Emma could only wonder what horrors awaited within this new realm. Would it lead them closer to freedom, or would they plummet deeper into their own nightmares? The room unfolded with a blinding brilliance, flooding their senses. Emma blinked against the brightness, momentarily disoriented. What met them drew a shuddering gasp from her throat. It was a vast chamber filled with mirrors, each reflecting a different reality, a kaleidoscope of their worst fears. Mom. Lily's voice trembled beside her, a reminder of the thick tension wrapping around them. They stepped cautiously into the space, the light dancing ominously, shifting with their every move, casting shadows that flickered like whispering wraiths. Stay close to me, Emma instructed, though her words felt heavy with uncertainty. The fear clawed at her chest. Creeping memories surfaced, every nagging doubt, every moment of weakness. The mirrors captured not just images but emotions, twisting them into grotesque parodies. Don't look at them, she urged, little hope in her voice. But no matter where she turned, there they were, reflections of despair, of failure, of lost layers of her life encased in glass, each one reaching out, demanding to be felt. Suddenly, one of the mirrors pulsated, a low hum thrumming through the air, beckoning them closer. Emma, a voice whispered, soft yet piercing, filled with sweetness that felt sharp on the edges. It was a voice from her past, one that made her blood run cold. Don't you want to know the truth? Emma swallowed hard, forcing herself to step back. No, she barked, each syllable edged with defiance. I'm not afraid of you. But doubt snaked around her heart, a constrictor tightening. Lily clutched her side, eyes wide. Mom, just don't look, Emma shouted suddenly, clenching her fists. There was power in her voice, but it resonated against the uncertainty that shadowed her aware. The whispers swelled again, echoing long-forgotten memories, drumming up her greatest insecurities. "They're lies," she yelled, pushing Lily closer toward the doorway ahead. But the oppressive atmosphere grew thicker. Shadows shifted and twisted as if alive, coiling hungrily around them, drawn by Emma's emotional struggle. "Mom, please. Are we trapped?" Lily's little voice quaked with fear that sliced through Emma like ice. "No, we're not trapped," Emma replied, but her heart raced, pumping with every doubt, every anxious thought spilling into the echoes of the chamber. "We're getting out of here." The intensity of the room pressed against her, shadows reaching toward her skin, creating an unbearable sensation. A mirrored figure stepped forward, a grotesque version of herself, mocking her laughter, twisting her stomach into knots. "You can't outrun yourself, Emma. You're always right here," it cooed, snagging the remnants of her confidence. "Stop," she screamed, fists trembling with rage. "No more." That anger ignited a spark of bravery. "This isn't who I am." With one swift movement, she turned her back on the accusatory figures and yanked her daughter toward the farthest door. "We can't let them win." She pounded her fists against the door handle, adrenaline surging as fear wrapped its claws around her throat. "Mom, we can't open it," Lily cried, tugging on her arm. "What if it's a trap? Then we take that chance," Emma shouted, fierce determination surging through her veins. The shadows pressed in, but she was done holding back. With a heaving breath, Emma gripped the handle and turned it with all her strength. The door groaned, hesitating, but she pressed on, dragging Lily close. Now, as the door crashed open, a burst of cold air swept over them like a tidal wave. They stumbled through together, crashing into a narrow hallway that twisted and turned, pushing them forward toward the beckoning light at the end. "Mom, it's so dark," Lily cried, holding tight to her mother's hand. "We've gotta keep moving, honey," Emma urged, fear locking her chest but determination propelling her forward. They bolted down the corridor, the shadows trailing behind like an insatiable beast. Emma forced herself to focus. The whispers grew louder, but this time, she recognized them as false echoes, remnants of her insecurities, not anticipations of doom. "We will not stop." But then the ground shook. A low rumble rolled underneath them as the walls pulsated like a beating heart, alive, definitely alive. "Mom, run, Lily, run," Emma yelled, the light ahead brightening as they sprinted towards it with everything in them. They were so close, she could almost taste it. The darkness clawed at their heels, and with one last burst of energy, they flung themselves into the brightness once more, spilling out into an open space. Fresh air caressed their skin. Emma gasped, breathing deep, filling her lungs with the sweet scent of liberation. Around them lay the remnants of the labyrinth. Behind them the house was still there, but they were free. "Did we escape?" Lily whispered, glancing around frantically, as if expecting phantoms from the darkness. "Yes," Emma replied firmly, cupping her daughter's face in her hands, looking into those innocent eyes. "We did. You did so well." But as the shadows slinked further back, a resonating laugh echoed. "You escaped the maze, but you can never truly escape yourself." A chill ran down Emma's spine, but she knelt down, wrapping her arms around her daughter tightly. "We will face whatever that is, together." They would not let fear dictate their lives. They would treasure the bonds of trust they had forged in the darkest moments. With resolute hearts, they turned away from the shadows, the journey shaping them, molding a new reality steeped in courage and promise. Now they would walk into the light, not as victims of their fears, but as conquerors ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The sun peeked through the treetops, warm light washing over them, and they stepped forward. Together. Now more than ever, Emma felt empowered not just to survive, but to thrive. Life awaited them, and she would protect that with every ounce of strength she had. Thank you for joining us on this harrowing journey. If you love the ride, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know your reactions and theories about this ending. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.